buddies! It's been a minute! Today's story is different from any story you have ever heard. Yes, I said it. You can take it to the bank. I said it. Today's story is going to blow your minds away. It's a very soul stirring one. So grab your popcorn and soda and get ready to go on this magical ride with me. Okay? Because I've poured love and labor into this work. So if you find value in this story, I want you to like, subscribe, and share with your loved ones, okay? Thank you so much because it's gonna help me to keep creating these authentic narratives that you all would love. So thank you so much as you subscribe, like, and share. It's free. Is it not free? Oh yeah, now just subscribe, like, and share. I'm waiting, okay? Thank you so much. Now let's dive right in. Prophet Jerome was the sensation of the moment. He healed the sick, restored sight to the blind, and helped the lame walk again. Women long branded barren testified of pregnancies after he laid hands on them. In the dusty, close-knit town of Adazi, his name was spoken with hushed tones of reverence and deep admiration. Unimaginable tales of his extraordinary powers spread quickly, and it wasn't long before the small church he founded began to overflow with desperate, hopeful souls. So revered was he that the community gifted him a large expanse of land for a larger church just a year after his arrival. His followers sought his counsel not only for spiritual matters, but for life decisions like marriage, business deals, and even names to give their children. Among his most faithful was a young man named Alphonsus. He was of age to get married, and while he searched for the right woman, he noticed a young woman named Amarachi who attended the same church as he. She wasn't only strikingly beautiful, but she was also well-mannered, gracious, hardworking, and deeply devout. After months of observing her from a distance, Alphonsus approached her family accompanied by his uncle and village elders to make his intentions clear. Amarachi's father, Mazi Eze Chikwadolu, welcomed them warmly. After exchanging pleasantries, breaking kola nuts, and drinking palm wine, the visitors made known their reason for the visit. I have 4 daughters and I'll bring them out just so we know the particular one Alphonsus is talking about, Mazi Eze Chikwadolo stated. All 4 daughters of his came out one by one. Amarachi, who was the eldest, came out last. After she returned inside, Alphonsus confirmed with a smile that she was the flower he had come to pluck. At this, Mazi Eze Chikwadolo stood up, walked to the front gate, plucked a few actual flowers, and returned, handing them to a confused Alphonsus. My son, you said you came to pluck flowers. Here they are. Now you can go. Laughter erupted across the compound. He was known for his rich sense of humor, and this moment was no exception. Alphonsus got up again to speak. Papa, I am sorry I called Amarachi a flower, but I didn't say that to belittle her. Instead, I meant it as a compliment. Flowers are known to be beautiful, soft, and fragile. They also need to be well taken care of and loved by the right horticulturist so that they can continue to blossom. I have watched Amarachi for months and seen how beautiful she is, not just outwardly but inside. And more so, her love for God is unmatched. She is the type of woman I would like to have as a wife, and I promise to take good care of her and love her so that she keeps blossoming, Alphonsus said sincerely, and he got some nods from Amarachi's people and a few pats on the back from his family members. They were asked to go home and come back again the next Eke market day. After the visitors departed, Mazi Eze Chikwadolo and his wife called Amarachi aside to hear her thoughts on the suitor. Quietly, she admitted she had noticed him too, his quiet devotion, and how invested he was in seeing that their church grew. Although he lives in the city, he's often in the village supervising, evangelizing, and always giving towards the work of God. He's the kind of man I would like to marry, she confided in her parents. On the next day came market day, Alphonsus and his family returned and received the blessing they hoped for. The marriage could proceed whenever Alphonsus was ready. Amarachi was permitted to visit him, but always in the company of one of her sisters. Until the dowry was paid, she wouldn't step foot into his compound. It was a time of gentle courtship, of discovery, and over the next few weeks, their bond deepened. They learned that they shared similar values, and a steady friendship began to blossom into something more promising. Then, a week before Alphonsus planned to make the dowry payment, he and his mother visited Prophet Jerome to seek spiritual confirmation. The prophet told them to wait while he prayed. 30 minutes later, he summoned them back into his office. "Children of God," he began solemnly, "I see your family entering into a battle with the Lord, and that is not a war you want to fight. This girl, Amarachi, is destined to marry a powerful man of God. If you go against that divine plan, be ready to face God's wrath." Stunned, Alphonsus and his family left in silence, a heavy cloud of gloom hanging over their heads. Though conflicted and heartbroken, Alphonsus dared not defy what he believed might be God's will. Later that same week, Amarachi and her parents visited Prophet Jerome as well. He claimed he had received revelation during prayers on the mountain, visions of tragedy within Alphonsus' bloodline. "That family suffers untimely deaths by accident," he declared. His grandfather joined his ancestors after falling from a palm tree. His uncle perished in a crashing boko. His father never returned from a business trip to Aba. Even Jeremiah, his brother, passed away just 2 years ago in another accident. "Do you want your daughter to become a widow?" The words landed like thunder on Amarachi's chest. She had begun to love Alphonsus. She had already started imagining her life with him in Abuja. Now all of it was crumbling under the weight of a warning cloaked in divine authority. Prophet Jerome touched her shoulder gently. "My daughter," he said, eyes boring into hers, "I know that you have gotten fond of that young man, but I also know that you do not want to be a widow at a young age. That is not your destiny. Do not see him. Do not speak to him again. Stay away from him and he will get the message." For several weeks, Alphonsus tried to reach out to Amarachi, but her parents refused to allow any contact. And just like that, what could have been was buried in silence. Months later, Alphonsus married Ebere, a humble, devout woman who served tirelessly in church. Though not as striking as Amarachi, she possessed a quiet diligence Alphonsus came to admire. She swept the sanctuary, cleaned the prophet's home, fetched water with joy. When the two were paired during evangelism, Alphonsus began to see her as a steady and worthy companion. Amarachi too eventually married, but not just anyone. She married the very powerful man of God the prophet had said was meant for her, Prophet Jerome himself. A few weeks before their union, the prophet's wife Aunlika had abruptly left with their only son and returned to her father's house. No one knew why. When questions arose, they were swiftly silenced by the prophet's devoted flock. "Touch not my prophet, and do him no harm," they would chant. "Keep your prying eyes away from the prophet's business. or God's fire will consume you. And so no one asked why the new church remained unfinished while Prophet Jerome erected a mansion within months for him and his family. No one questioned how a man famed for giving barren women children remained childless with Amarachi 3 years into their marriage. Week after week, more converts joined. Devotion swelled. To his followers, Prophet Jerome had become less a man of God and more like a God himself, followed without question, revered without reason. They unquestioningly followed him without critically thinking or evaluating his actions. But there was a young man named Chidumaga who refused to follow blindly. Though he attended Prophet Jerome's church, he wasn't swept away by the aura of theatrics. He was a self-made, successful businessman with thriving ventures in and outside the town, a mansion in the city and another in the village. His generosity was known and felt. He supported his church, uplifted the community, and carried himself with humility that made him beloved by many. Unlike others of his status, Chidumaga was approachable, grounded, and kind across every class line. One of the people he took a special liking to was an elderly woman named Eunice Wakosisi, though she insisted on being called Wajulum, loosely translated to mean children rejected me. She was married to his uncle, but after 12 childless years, her husband remarried. The new wife bore him 4 children, and together with their offspring, turned the household into a place of cruelty for Wajulum. People mocked her mercilessly. She lived in rags, half-fed and deprived of care. With time, she lost sight in one eye due to neglect. When her husband died, life grew even harsher until Chidumaga stepped in. He renovated her collapsing house, furnished it, provided clothes, food, and even hired a helper to look after her. His care was so genuine that some people mistook her for his biological mother. Every visit home, he checked in on her first. They would exchange stories, his from the city, hers from the village. Their bond deepened, and many said that though fate had denied her a child, God had gifted her a son in him. When it was time for Chidumaga to settle down, he became drawn to Mmachi, a beautiful young woman who attended his church. She was Amarachi's younger sister. As wedding plans got underway, his cousin Alphonsus urged him to consult Prophet Jerome. Reluctantly, Chidumaga did. The prophet declared, "This union must not happen. God has shown me that you and Mmachi are spiritually incompatible. The marriage will not last." Unconvinced, Chidumaga pressed on, but then Prophet Jerome summoned Mmachi and warned her as well. His family is cursed with untimely deaths by accident. If you marry him, you will become a widow. Neither Chidumaga nor Mmachi yielded. 3 weeks before their traditional marriage, Chidumaga returned to the village with gifts for Wajulum. As usual, he stopped by even before reaching his family home. They embraced. She beamed. "Mama, I haven't even reached home, but I had to stop by to let you know that your son had come back. In the evening, I will come back again so that we can have a hearty conversation like we always do." And true to his words, he went to see her that night, and they talked into the night, laughing and reminiscing. "My son, come and see me before you go back to the city," she urged him. "I wouldn't dream of leaving without seeing you," he promised. On the morning of his departure, he insisted on seeing Wajulum despite the urging of his friends, worried about traffic and the tight itinerary. Chidumaga, just tell your sister to tell Mama that you have left. She can give Mama the money on your behalf. Remember, we are still going to Machi's house before we leave for Lagos. I don't want us to get stuck in Ore traffic, Ejike complained. She's like a mother to me. If I leave without saying goodbye, she will be hurt. He slipped away to her house, just 2 houses away. She was eating porridge jam when he arrived. She hugged him tightly and invited him to eat. I would have loved to, he said gently, but I must get back to the city. I only stopped to give you something, he said, handing her a bundle of notes. She smiled, accepted the money, thanked him, but her eyes were heavy. Mama, what's wrong? Tears welled in her eye. You call me Mama, but you never eat my food. Am I so dirty, too poor, too discarded that even you won't eat from my hand? His heart broke. To ease her mind, he asked for a small portion of porridge. He ate a few spoonfuls, smiled and asked, Are you happy now? Then, before leaving, he embraced her and said, In 2 weeks, I will return for my traditional wedding. On that day, you will sit beside my mother. Both of you will wear the same lace. I can't wait for us to celebrate, he said, as he waved his goodbye. It was the last time she would see him alive. That afternoon, on their journey back to Lagos, the SUV crashed. Of the 6 passengers, only Chidumaga died. The rest escaped with minor injuries. Shock seized Adazi. The whole village was thrown into mourning. The villagers grieved when they heard of Chidumaga's passing. He was a young man who had touched different lives in great ways. How could a man so kind, so full of promise, but taken at the edge of joy? His mother was inconsolable. Machi fainted upon hearing the news, and his sister Chikwado was sent to comfort Wajulum. She must not be alone, their mother said, her voice thick with sorrow, eyes drowned with fresh tears. This pain will destroy her. But Chikwado returned almost immediately. Mama, they took her to Ada's teaching hospital. She became sick when she heard. And so the loss spread like a shadow, touching every corner. She loved him like her own son, one of the mourners whispered, and he loved her just the same. On the day Chidumaga was laid to rest, the entire village turned out. Grief rippled through Adazi like a slow-moving storm. Prophet Jerome officiated the service, voice solemn, robes immaculate. Chidumaga's big cousin Alphonsus, who had been very helpful with the burial preparations, broke down in tears as he spoke so highly of his little cousin. He was more of my little brother than my cousin. He often consulted me when making decisions, and I was there for him every step of the way. I feel lonely because now I am the only son of the family. I wish death weren't so greedy. Chidumaga was a rare breed who touched the lives of so many people whom he came across with his generosity and compassion. He had this ability to relate with people and make them feel valued. Even though I mourn the death of Chidumaga, I also celebrate the incredible life he lived. May he always live in our hearts and in the hearts of those whose lives he touched. There were more tears, quiet sobs, nods, murmurs of agreement. But just as they prepared to commit him to the earth, a wail cut through the gathering. Mama! Mama! Chikwado burst into the compound like someone being chased by a machete-wielding masquerade. Her chest heaved as she collapsed at her mother's feet. Wajulum has confessed. Gasps swelled like thunder. Confess to what? Her mother demanded, alarmed. She said Prophet Jerome and Uncle Alphonsus gave her a powder. She put it in Brother Chidumaga's food. That's what caused the accident. That's what killed him. The air thickened. All eyes turned to Prophet Jerome. For a second, he hunched. He hunched his back like a child who had been caught stealing some pieces of meat from a pot of soup. But then, suddenly regaining his composure, he straightened, lifted his chin, and thundered, "Lies! This is slander of the highest order. I will go to that hospital myself." He stormed off with Alphonsus and a handful of his followers in tow. But he didn't let any of them into his car except Alphonsus, and drove up speedily, leaving some dust behind. As the dust from his wheels settled, Chidumaga's mother rose. "Chikwado, stay here with your brother and make sure nobody goes close to the casket. I will be going to that hospital to face my son's murderer. I need to know why she did what she did," she said, shoving aside the hands, trying to restrain her. "I will hear it from her own mouth." At Adazi Teaching Hospital, Wajulum's voice carried down the corridor. She writhed in pain, clawing at the air. "Chidumaga, my son, I am sorry. Stop scratching me. I am in pain. I didn't mean to kill you. The prophet, Alphonsus, they made me do it. You trusted me. You loved me. Oh, my son, please stop with this torture. Please take my life instead of this pain that you are inflicting on me." Outside, a crowd had already gathered. Word had spread like wildfire. Inside, Chidumaga's mother approached the frail woman she once trusted. "Why did you do it? My son loved you so much, as though you were his own. That boy called you mother. Why did you do it?" she screamed, lunging forward to grab Wajulum by the neck, but was restrained by two nurses. The room swelled with the sound of betrayal. "I am sorry. Oh, please, tell Chidumaga that I will confess everything. I will confess. My son, stop scratching me. I am in intense pain. I didn't want to put the accident substance in your food. You treated me well, but I was threatened by Prophet Jerome. He said if I didn't do it, he would destroy me himself." Wajulum wept. He wanted his prophecy to come true. He wanted everyone to believe that death by accident ran in Chidumaga's bloodline. The crowd outside shifted from exasperation to fury. Chidumaga's mother's voice rose, shaking with rage. You betrayed my son! You were rejected and treated terribly by your husband, your co-wife and her children. A lot of people didn't want to associate with you because of your scruffy appearance. But my son took a liking to you from his young age. He used to fetch firewood for you and bring you food. When he became a man and made it to life, he still did not forget you. But how did you pay him back for his kindness? She asked, wailing loudly for her son and the betrayal he faced from a woman whom he trusted. You took his life. You took the life of my only son. May you continue to suffer till your end. I left my son's funeral just to see your face and tell you these words. As for Prophet Jerome and Alphonsus, the Lord will avenge. That evening, an Anglican reverend finished the burial rites. Prophet Jerome, who claimed he had gone to confront Wajulum, had disappeared. When people visited his home, Amarachi informed them that he had packed a few belongings and left without a word. The following day, Wajulum was discharged from the hospital and, accompanied by a small procession of women and elders, returned airily to her ancestral village. In a solemn farewell, 7 ceremonial gunshots echoed through the air as an empty casket was laid to rest in her name. 3 days later, she passed away. Alphonsus was arrested. In custody, he confessed everything. His envy of Chidumaga's inheritance, his bitterness about his father's poor fortunes, and how Prophet Jerome's manipulation had fed the darkness already growing in him. I knew if he died, Alphonsus admitted, I'll be the only son left, the only heir to inherit all the plots of land and his properties. Soon Alphonsus began to unravel. He rambled, shouted at shadows, and was diagnosed with a mental breakdown. Despite being treated, he was never the same again. In time, he was seen wandering the market square, dirty and disheveled, eating from rubbish bins. As for Prophet Jerome, he fled to Ichida, where he opened a small church, but fate turned its gaze. He became quadriplegic, bound to a wheelchair. Not many people attended the church of a man who claimed to make the lame to walk, yet couldn't get himself out of the wheelchair. The crowds dwindled. The offerings ceased. He died years later in silence and shame. Amarachi eventually remarried a young man from Isofia. They had twin boys and a girl. Mmachi Chidumaga's widow, who had carried his child in her womb during the storm, gave birth to a son. She chose never to remarry. I will raise him, she said, to be as kind, as honorable, as good as his father. The end of my story. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I told you it's going to blow your minds away. I know it's a chilling story, but I'm very sure you picked 1 or 2 lessons from it, and I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Please, guys, your comments, please. I'd like to hear what you think of my story. Did you enjoy the story? What could I have done better? I'd like to know, okay? Thank you so much. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.